Alright, Avengers fans, welcome back to another episode of Assemble, and we now have the Q&A with Scott Amos here. So how this is going to work, guys, is I'm going to kind of go through it. I'm going to pause at some points. So there are going to be some interruptions, just to kind of get my thoughts out after a specific question. If I don't really feel like I want to give a thought, I'm not going to pause it. I will link the full video down below if you're interested in just kind of watching the uninterrupted video with no commentary. It'll be there ready for you guys to go. Otherwise, let's just kind of get into this and see what this is all about. Before we get into this, I really don't think we're going to get a lot of hard-hitting questions. I don't think there's going to be anything that's going to be too, in depth, or, we're not really going to get, kind of the information that we want. I believe, I don't think we're going to get a roadmap, or, I don't think we're going to be hearing about that Spider-Man in January kind of story that came out in that PlayStation magazine. We're not going to get any of that. But I do believe there's going to be some small tidbits of information that are kind of buried in here. So let's kind of get into this and see what we got. All right.
Hey everyone, welcome to our very first Dev Q&A. I'm Andy. I'm on the community team at Crystal Dynamics, and with me today we have Scott Amos, the head of studio.
Hello everyone.
How are you, Scott?
I'm living the dream, Mr. Wong. How are you doing?
I am also living the dream. Thank you.
Excellent. It's all about attitude, man. We're all there.
We're all living the dream here.
I admire your background. Very on point.
Thank you. I admire yours too.
Hey, I do like Kamala's headquarters.
Same. Okay, so earlier this week we asked you guys to send in a bunch of questions, and we got a lot of them. We can't answer every single one of them because there was a lot, but we have chosen a few that are pretty much covering everything, pretty much. Are you ready though, Scott?
Okay, I'm ready. I got a drink of water. We're ready.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
First question is from Ace ND93. While developing the game, was Kamala the first choice for the main story, or were there other characters considered? How different could the story you told have been from the beginning of development compared to the end?
Okay, so the Kamala question. Certainly, as a studio, as a team, as developers, we said, hey, what do we get to bring that's fresh to the Avengers? So Marvel's Avengers, they've been around, there's 80 years of history in here. There's some amazing, iconic characters. You think Captain America, or Black Widow, or Thor, or Iron Man, and they've been done in so many different ways in other games and TV shows and movies, and certainly, of course, the source comics. And so for us, we're like, how do we bring all of that familiarity and all the iconic nature of those heroes, but put something fresh in there? Put some fresh face that helps us say this is a unique take and a unique origin tale and a different version, what we call the crystal lens that we kind of look through and say, how do we do an original Avengers story our way, but still with all the stuff that we know and love that has been the source of this franchise for 80 years. And Kamala had just kind of come onto the scene in 2014, right, having her own series and saying, this is an amazing character who is somebody trying to fit in, trying to figure out what it's like to become a hero, who's all about hope, who's all about unifying and always stamping out injustice and doing the right thing. So for us, she's also somebody who's just like our gamers, who wants to kind of fit in, who loves the Avengers, who wants to become that hero of her story. And we love the idea of that seems like somebody we can connect with on an emotional level, and somebody we can introduce in a new, unique way through the kind of blockbuster gaming experience. So that's why we love that Reassemble campaign, that she gets to start her actual origin tale from our game all the way through the end of it with MODOK and AIM and how all that wraps together. So yeah, she was always the linchpin, that center point for us that we build everything else off of. And then the second question, I assume the question actually means, how is the story that we shipped different than the story we started with when we actually wrote this the first time? And so one of the fun elements looking back at our history is within the first year, and this is years ago, remember, that we started this whole thing, being able to actually craft the story, the guys had actually written out a story, had actually done storyboards across it all, and we actually had an entire screening of our story with storyboards, with our own characters being read by the people who worked at Crystal, and with some slates that were actually narrated by our audio director, Jack. And so we actually had the team go to the theater and watch a 97-minute storyboard movie, basically, that was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what's going to happen, from the opening moments of who Kamala is and how she meets the Avengers, all the way to the big boss fight at the end with MODOK. And we literally had done this as an experience as a team, like, we can see it, we can see all of this story that we're going to tell. And it was an amazing experience to have that. If you looked at that now versus what we have, you will see the spine is all still the same, starting with Kamala, going to MODOK, how it actually goes through the Reassemble and getting these heroes together. But then as we get into the details, when you have like Shauna Sky, our creative director, coming in and saying, hey, it's not quite clear what the motivations are, or who's actually the bad guy and what's actually happening behind the scenes. And then we get to the actors that we brought in with such an amazing cast. When they got into these heroes, they would actually do some alternate reads or different takes for how these characters might say certain things, and we'd iterate and refine it. But if you looked at it front to back from the beginning story to the end, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's remarkable how similar it is from all the way through it as the spine. And there's just details that have been tweaked and tuned in there and refined to make it the thing that it currently is. So yeah, I think the team did an amazing job of crafting initially and then delivering what that vision was.
Awesome. Next question is from Aguilar.
So I mean, I guess from my understanding is that the story always had Kamala, and that if they didn't have Kamala, they wouldn't have the story that they wanted to tell, right? So, I mean, personally, it's okay. Like Kamala is to me like a really good character to have. I really enjoyed kind of her kind of character growth and everything around the character. I mean, when the comic first came out, I picked it up. So I mean, yeah, it's fine. I mean, I don't know if there's another character that they could have used in that scenario and been like, this is going to be our character. So yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, that answer, we're already 4 minutes in out of a 26-minute video. So let's kind of see what else we got.
Aguilar Geralt, when are we going to be able to replay the campaign? I really want to play it again, and my brother wants to play it for the first time.
So we are right there with you because we love this campaign, and actually getting through that story and being able to go back through that story is very important to us as well. And so while I can't give you a specific date, what I can say is our first working version is in test right now. So our QA team right now is actually testing our attempt to say, hey, this is what it would be like to do a replay of the main campaign. So no promises on the date of when it's coming out there, but I will tell you that it has to be done very carefully because we have to put that in a patch, and you have to imagine all the save games and the 6 heroes, and they could be at all different levels of progress and power levels. So for us, it is an important feature that we love and we're committed to, and that is in test right now.
Yeah, I guess that's the big thing too. Is like you notice he mentions power levels and stuff, right? So like, what kind of drops do you get? What kind of levels do those drops come from? So I imagine a lot of it comes down to the actual itemization of that. But it's good to hear that it's kind of coming. I think that's probably like 2 or 3 patches down the road. But it's good to hear that there's kind of some testing iterations going on with it.
That's great news. Next question is from Daft Igor. Any chances of adding seasonal events with special modes, villains, places, and items? Also, random events and secrets inside missions would be a cool addition.
So we love it. So any chance for sure. But that's probably not the answer you want. The primary focus for our team right now is to address all the immediate issues that are affecting the player experience. That's our first and foremost dedication of saying that's unacceptable to have stuff out there that's not performing the way it should and the quality and the caliber that we want it to be. So we're dedicated as a team as our first priority right now. But we also are rolling out pieces of new content and new ways to play, like Tachyon Rifts just went live, and they actually are a new mode of play. The idea of how you have to go through them, how you have to collect the time orbs to keep playing through them, and upcoming Cloning Lab will also have a new feeling to it and experience. So we are rolling pieces out there, but we're really anxious to get the current state of the game where it needs to be. That's anything affecting players in any way negatively. That's our first place to go. And then we will get to villains, new places, new gear, and even some special events that we have planned for the future that will be exciting.
Awesome.
Ooh, special events.
Next question's from Gamer Uncle.
Okay.
Are we going to get more story-driven content for each character?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, that's probably not enough of an answer, right?
well, I mean, they've specified this, right? Am I crazy that they've talked about how like when new characters come out, there's going to be new story-driven content to kind of tie it all together, right?
that's probably too small. So I will put it a couple different ways. So first off, you're actually getting some new story content right now, and I know it's still early days, and it's probably just not quite visible yet. But those Tachyon Rifts that will lead to the Cloning Lab and Substation Zero, and then going to the first operation with Kate, you will start to see these threads emerging that's all actually connected. It's not just arbitrary or just like this stuff is just randomly showing up. Like, no, believe it or not, we actually have a full plan of how those pieces connect to further the entire story for all the heroes post that main campaign. And then on top of that, you'll soon get to experience Kate Bishop's operation, where she does have her own story, and the idea of what that story is of introducing story-driven content for her and how to actually throw some new threads out there for future stories that we'll be telling. And absolutely, these are great iconic characters. Having Black Widow and Kamala and Thor and saying these guys have some hero iconic chains right now in the game. We definitely want to expand those further down the road.
Great, and that actually leads us right into our next question. From hit B to jump, will future story content have hero missions with cutscenes and exciting set pieces? The campaign was excellent, and I would hate for it to be a one and done type thing.
Well, we certainly appreciate that. So, for us, looking at it, and you'll get to see this soon enough with our Kate Bishop operation. Like certainly, Kate for us is that first kind of, hey, look, here's a new hero with all kinds of new stuff that has cutscenes, that has new set pieces. And so we look at that as saying it is a different size and shape. Certainly, that main Reassemble campaign is built as the big enchilada to introduce all 6 of them. But as we introduce our new heroes, they actually will come with everything from new skills and new gear and everything else that you expect with a new hero, but also you'll see with the Kate pack that she has a full storyline that you get to play single player or co-op, and actually get to experience that storyline as here's how we introduce Kate to the Avengers and to the world, and here's what new things it expands about the world.
I can't be the only one that's thinking that Kate is like the first kind of the step that if they like when you think about from launch until now, it's kind of been a mess in certain regards, but Kate has the opportunity to kind of set the next foot forward on the right path. And if what they're saying is true, that there's new set pieces, new cutscenes, all fully voice acted, it's all kind of put together really nicely in a nice package, that could go a long way in garnering some goodwill from the community of, hey guys, like this is just piece 1. All right, we've kind of had some setbacks and some issues, but here's piece 1, and we're right here and we're doing this right. So like what he's saying is great. Hopefully as as we get closer and closer, the actual kind of actualization of Kate and like the story and everything rings true to what he's saying, because if it does, that could be very good for the future of the game and for kind of everything going on. So that right there is really promising.
Awesome. Next question is from HK219HK. Will our existing 6 Avengers get any updates for their skill trees? And if so, is there a place where fans can give suggestions for these upgrades?
So I will say yes to both of those things. So certainly looking at our heroes, we know we want to expand what they can do and how we can actually let you further refine and customize them down the road. There's all kinds of things that are in mind. You guys have gotten to play with them now and see what they can do. And for those of you who really get that hero level 50 or power level 150 and start seeing when they have all those skills and you have those pick 3s, we can really adjust them on the fly, and you have that cool gear, it's a hell of an experience. And so we want everyone to be able to experience that. But on top of that, certainly our Vince Napoli combat director, and looking at that team saying, no, there's more to do with these heroes. There's more we can do to expand on these heroes. So we absolutely want to go down that path as soon as we possibly can. On top of that, when you think about suggestions, we listen to you guys. You know that by now. You've probably heard it. Andy and the community team do a great job of funneling questions like these and everything else our direction of, hey, here's some stuff to think about. What can we do? So keep the suggestions coming. We absolutely will take those to our team, and we look at them and say, hey, that's a really good idea, and how can we do this, and how can we work it in there? And you'll also see us feed back to you guys through our Pro Tip series, which just started. We actually have the developers themselves. Like, I think you got to meet Scott Walters. One of our designers actually makes these things come to life, saying, hey, here's some pro tips of how to take and use these things, or even optimize your hero's setup or layout or gear. And I think that's an important point, to have that dialogue between yourselves and ourselves, because we're all players and we're all fans of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So next question is from Inverted Y1. He has 2 questions.
But before we get into that, the evolution of the characters also needs to be, there also needs to be an evolution of the challenge cards as well. Because I think a lot of people want to see both, the new skills that you may be able to get. But I know a lot of people too have been clamoring for new challenge cards levels for a lot of these characters as well. So I would hope that they come in tandem, new levels, new skills, new everything, and then also kind of additional levels granted to the challenge card as well. But what they're saying is good. Let's kind of evolve these characters over time, right? I would hope that my Thor or my Captain America is not the same Thor or Captain America that I'm playing, a year and a half down the line, right? I would hope that there's more to it. So, yeah, all right.
So the first one from Inverted Y1 is,
Okay.
Is cross-platform going to be a thing for Marvel's Avengers?
So for the near term, cross-gen play will be a thing, meaning if you have a PS4, and your friend's lucky enough to have a PS5 or even Xbox One, and some of your friends get an Xbox Series X, you will be able to play from PS4 to PS5 or from Xbox One to Xbox Series X. So that's cross-gen platform. So at least you can play with your friends if they're on new or old or whatever. So that's true. And then this franchise is global. It's worldwide. It's something that we love. So we are certainly very much aware that the more people we can connect together, the better we all are. So I will leave it there for now. But certainly it is.
Oh, that is such a dodge.
Is very much top of mind
Oh,
how we could pull that off so we get more people connected to play together.
that's a no.
Great. And the second question is, are
I
other
just want to say sorry, PC guys. It doesn't look like you guys are going to be having any sort of relief for matchmaking issues anytime soon. That is such a dodge. I'm sorry, man. Like,
gameplay mechanics going to be addressed for the future of Marvel's Avengers?
Well, mechanics, that covers a lot of territory. So when I think mechanics, we think of hero mechanics and actually how the players, and certainly starting with that, when you guys get Kate Bishop and then Hawkeye and then future characters, you will see that we actually are making new mechanics for them. How they move, how they shoot, how they fight, what their heroics do, even what their gear does. So definitely there are new mechanics coming in that sense that you actually will have that experience of, hey, how my heroes interact with the world and their uniqueness for their set of mechanics and skills that you get to upgrade. But you might also be talking about mechanics as the game missions themselves, of thinking like, hey, what else can I do inside of these worlds? And I will say we are definitely working on that as well. Those are some of the harder things to add. They just take a lot more time to make sure they're right, particularly in a Warzone or Avengers Initiative context where you have to think of 1 through 4 player and how does the companion AI work with it. So we are definitely attacking that as well, saying new ways to interact with the world. Tachyon Rifts was a very simple example of, hey, this is a new thing to do. It is a new mechanic of having that time-based mechanic. But that's a very simple version, and we have more complicated and exciting ones coming, certainly for future expansions.
Okay, next question is from MaDZ1. I know next gen release has been pushed back to 2021, but will we be able to play a backwards compatibility version on PS5 on launch day, or do we have to have both consoles on the go until then?
So, good news is that you actually will be back compatible on both Xbox and on PS5. So that's an easy one. So certainly we wanted to support that from the beginning. So come launch day, you have your PS4 version. You can play PS4 version on PS5 or Xbox One version on your Xbox Series X. And also your save game will move forward when you do upgrade to PS5s and Xbox Series X's. You'll actually be able to take your save game from your current gen to the next gen. And so that way you'll be able to continue playing seamlessly when you go forward.
one of the things is I know Miller touched on this during the State of the Game coverage. I would love to know what kind of what should our expectations be set to. So, based off kind of my conversation with Miller, I know personally what I should be expecting of the game on my PS5 on launch day, but I would love for them to come out and be like, "Hey guys, it's powerful hardware, but don't expect, the world, to be given to you on this. Here's what you should expect coming forward with this backward compatibility version." Because there are going to be people who kind of expect a little bit more or maybe a lot more, and when they kind of get these new versions, they're going to be like, wait a second, whoa, this is my PS5, this is my Xbox Series X, why am I still having issues, right? I would love to see them kind of just clear up the communication about kind of the expectations. I know some games have done this. I know For Honor has put out like a blog post about kind of the expectations and what you're going to be getting. And I know like they did talk about like the actual versions were going to be pushed back, but in the stopgap, kind of the meantime, I would love for them to kind of come out and just be like, set the record straight of like what we're going to be expecting. Hopefully kind of in the next like 2-3 weeks before the consoles launch, they'll come out and just kind of specify exactly kind of the improvements you will see. And then like how further the improvements will go when the actual PS5 version and the new Xbox version does come out.
Nice. Next question is from Mendonca Danilo. Love the game, but it's still taking too long for new content like Hawkeye or other characters. Any news on that?
We love the game too. Thank you for loving it. We certainly would love to put everything in your hands immediately, and some of these things just take time. We've announced our first 2 heroes are coming, right, with Kate and with Hawkeye, and we haven't really talked about this, but certainly there are new bosses coming as well. So the idea that having not only heroes but actually villains to fight about and new bosses to fight with, and we haven't announced Kate's official drop date yet, but I will tell you this: you'll be able to play her before the end of the calendar year. So stay tuned for the announced date.
Wait a second. Play that back.
Villains to fight about and new bosses to fight with. And we haven't announced Kate's official drop date yet, but I will tell you this: you'll be able to play her before the end of the calendar year.
It is October 23rd. Okay. All right. Okay. I don't want to get like super upset about that. I mean, I know he's trying to tease in like kind of like a very subtle way, but to say like before the end of the calendar year is very yeah. And I'm just going to say it, guys. Like that's tough. That's tough. Wow. Okay.
Stay tuned for the announced date.
Next question is from N7 Mass Effect fan. Actually has a few questions, so we're gonna one at a time. First one, will there be any storylines based on the comics?
So I would put it to a slightly different way that all of our storylines are in some way based on the comics because they're the source material. But I think you mean, hey, this specific comic translated specifically into a storyline in the game. We use all of the source material from the 81 years of Marvel history, comics, TV shows, movies, games, toys, whatever. Say, hey, all of this stuff is part of that tapestry of who Marvel's Avengers are. And so for us, it's all inspiration and things that we even aspire to and say, this is a great storyline, or even this is a great comic panel. How do we use that through that crystal lens that I talk about of how do we see it interpreted into our version of Marvel's Avengers? So we don't have plans to take one story and turn it into a specific story inside of our game, but we will actually take all of those different stories and pieces from them and say, hey, this would be a great inspirational piece. How do we work that in and do our version of that? Much like we did with Kamala, right? Her origin tale for our game is different than the origin tale that she has in the comics, but it's our interpretation of that through our lens in our world.
Okay.
And his second question is, are Aim and Taskmaster's goons going to be the only villains and factions in the game?
Oh, good question.
So Aim is the primary source
But we know
of
they
all the
aren't,
trouble
but
right now, right? And spoiler
but-
alert. Sorry, I hope you guys have actually played through it. A little spoiler.
I mean, we know that they're not going to be. Obviously, Wakanda is coming, right? So maybe there's something along the lines of, different factions within Wakanda. But I would like to get him on the record to say like there's more coming, right? Whether that's Hydra or whoever else. Let's see what he says.
Spoiler alert. But as you get through the game and you see that MODOK was the big bad and AIM, and then you get to Monica as Scientist Supreme, and you start realizing further and further, like, oh my God, she has all these experiments going on, all this crazy tech. Something you'll get a real kind of first glimpse at of what the future kind of looks like is in Kate's operation, in Kate Bishop's operation. You'll get a sense of like, oh, this is all leading to something bigger and something different. So I don't want to spoil that part for you, but the idea that at the moment, yep, certainly AIM are the bad guys who are causing trouble. Certainly have Taskmaster and all of his bad henchmen. We have Abomination as well. But again, new villains and new bosses are coming. And as we get to the larger expansions, you will see much different enemies showing up. And so we're very excited to start pushing down those directions to share with you guys, because we know you've killed many, many robots. So we definitely want to give you some new stuff to kill.
I'm excited. Last question from N7. When playing solo, can you put in an option to change characters in the mission to open certain doors or make locks, puzzles anyone can decipher?
Yeah, so on the solo play, being able to like smash or hack or use any of the specific doors, we definitely have heard the ask. Any of those who've been with us from the beginning certainly saw that with Cap. One of the things that you guys had said is, Captain America, why can't he smash a door? Like, that's a really good question. So we addressed that. We patched that in. So we absolutely are listening, and we absolutely agree with you that we have some plans that I can't reveal the details of yet, but saying, how do we actually continue to address this in a smart way? So particularly from solo players, that you guys will be able to address this situation while you're playing through the levels. So more to come on that. But yeah,
Why? I don't, like I said, I'm not a game developer. What I would like is for you to stand at a door, and instead of holding a button for you to hack the door or whatever, I'd love for you to be able to stand in front of a door, like the data entry, and just hold like I don't know, think of a button, think of like circle on PlayStation, right? Just hold that, and then you have one of your AI companions just comes through and does it for you, right? That could be a very smart way to do it, and it's not as intensive as like switching characters, like in the middle of a mission or something. So maybe that's what they're looking to do. That could be a very simple way to do it. But I'm not a game developer, but just off the top of my head, that would be how I would implement it, I guess.
heard you loud and clear, and we're definitely addressing it.
Great. Next question is from OJ Jenkins 13. Please give us a roadmap if you can, okay? We know you're working hard. Please do your best. We believe in you. That's really nice.
That is really nice. No, you're absolutely right. We are working hard, and we actually love that you believe in us, because I believe in this team. I believe in you guys, like being our fans, knowing what these characters mean to everybody, including us as fans of the Avengers. We certainly believe, and our jobs every day to say, how do we make this better? How do we actually improve the things? And we have so many plans for the future that we're just scratching the surface at the beginning right now. One of the things that we learned disappointingly is that when we show a date and then we get to a point like it's just not perfect yet. It's not where it needs to be. We had to move our Kate operation back from where it was, because we wanted to deliver it to you guys at the end of October. Like, it needs some more time, and we have some critical fixes and issues to deal with first. So we hate dating things until we're absolutely sure. It makes just a disappointment for everybody, and so we don't want to show you guys our future plans with dates on it of saying, oh, this stuff is all coming on these dates, until we're really sure that we can deliver to those dates, because we just know how disappointing it gets. But I will say this, we are working very actively on how do we communicate the current roadmap we have to all of you, so that it's actually in progress. It is a priority for us, because we know everybody wants to know what's actually coming in the future, and there's so much to share. We're excited so you guys can see how much cool stuff is ahead of us on this journey.
Yeah.
Couldn't they do it by quarters? So what I would imagine would be pretty acceptable to a lot of people is break it down by quarters, right? So for quarter 4 for 2020, you can expect this stuff. Quarter 1, you can expect this stuff. Quarter 2, quarter 3, so on and so forth, right? That gives you the idea of like a breakdown, and it gives you like a 4-month period, right? No, 3-month period. Oh my God. It gives you a 3-month breakdown of like, it could fall between these months, and you're not tied down to a specific date, specific month. And you would hope that if they're tying something down to like a quarter, that they can hit it within that ballpark, right? So I definitely understand, like, like gaming communities everywhere, right? You give someone like a day or a week, or even today, the 23rd, and this didn't drop till 7 p.m. But if you nail it down to like a quarter, right, you have a window there that you can hit. I would much rather see something than nothing, even if that something is like, hey guys, like this could hit within a 3-month window. That's okay. Just give us an idea of where this game is going, because right now that's one of the big things is people don't know where it's going, and they're kind of worried about like the future of it, right? I would just rather see that than to kind of just not see anything, I guess. So that's just personally.
I'm super excited too for all that.
Well, you've gotten to see glimpses of it, so you can play you can play coy, but you do know a couple things that don't tell anybody yet. We're not all right.
Okay, next question is from Silver3 Composer. What in brief goes into determining how characters should feel when playing as them? Since there's hundreds and hundreds of comics starring each of these characters, how do you decide this is the definitive Iron Man, Thor, Cap?
Definitive. Wow, yeah. Definitive that's a strong word. So at a detailed level, the way I can best put this to you is it starts with our core combat team. We call them our PET team, PET, for Player Enemy Traversal Team, led by Vince Napoli, combat director. You guys have seen or heard. Certainly, he's got a great ability to craft amazing heroes with an amazing PET team around him, and all the animation and design and all the stuff that goes into it. They start as a group brainstorming, saying, okay, let's take a character. Let's take Black Widow and say, what makes Black Widow Black Widow? And it becomes just an open forum of all the different things, from stealth and nimble and great takedowns and amazing gadgets and cool technology and guns. And so looking at that kind of brainstorm of all the things that say this is what would define Black Widow for me, they also then say, okay, what if this was just the Black Widow game? Not the Marvel's Avengers game, but if this was just Black Widow game, what would you expect and be able to do? Oh, I'd want to have a grapple, and I'd want to have all, and just going through the list of technologies and mechanics and abilities and say this is what would make it feel like a great Black Widow game. From that, they then say, okay, now that we have that defined, let's start prototyping everything from storyboards to working with the animation team to actually putting in an engine, saying here's some cool moves or techniques or tactics that we'd have for this character. So you have that pure philosophy of who she is. She's about stealth. She's about quick action. She's about strikes and getting in and getting out. Okay, how do we take that, turn it into the moveset? Okay, now let's play with it on the sticks and say, how does it feel in game?
Play with it on the sticks, eh?
Kind of peer review with people in the dev team. We would broaden that to our collaborators from Marvel Games. We'd actually even have user tests with folks who would come in and play just that hero and give us feedback. So it's a very detailed process of saying, does this feel right? Does this give you the sense of, hey, this is Iron Man, or this is Thor, or this is Black Widow. So that for us is how we really take and say, now is it our version of that character? Because we're not trying to make the same character that somebody else has made in another game or movie or comic, but say these are all the different elements that we like that go through that crystal lens again and become our version of that character on screen. So definitive for our game, yes. Definitive of all time, I wouldn't dare say that. There's just so many different versions, and people have their favorite for what they love about this Iron Man or that Hulk or this Black Widow. And so for us, it's very much a process of saying, how do we bring it into our world so it fits our cast of characters and our particular original Avengers story, and then say, hey, that's a great polished core set that the character on screen, like Kamala, she just makes me laugh when you get to play her. These giant wiggly arms flying around and embiggening and seeing her stamp out the bad guys. Like, for us, there's something fun about being able to say, take that character, pull it off the page, and now customize it and put it in game. It's just a thrill. So that's what I would say is that the pet team at the heart of it, come up with the core of the philosophy, prototype the hell out of it, iterate all the time, and then put it on screen for people to love.
You know, it's a good point there, because I used to be super worried about their iteration of Spider-Man, for example, right? So for people who've played Spider-Man on the PS4, or who will be kind of experiencing it for the first time next month, whether through the remastered or Miles Morales, you know, you play that Spider-Man character and it just feels so good, right? You play it and it's like, this is Spider-Man to me. So my worry was how Crystal is going to follow up with that, but kind of hearing Scott and, you know, kind of his philosophy and how they approach these characters, I actually don't feel as worried as I do anymore. I really think they're going to nail Spider-Man in a very similar way, but different, right? One of the things that, you know, everyone kind of praises the game about is the character design, the character movement, the character fighting. Like, you know, the characters just feel good. So kind of hearing the breakdown of it and everything to do with that, I really don't feel worried anymore about Spider-Man, you know, which is a relief to me, because for a while I was very worried about, you know, kind of their take on him.
Awesome. Next question is from Slash to Rusty. Stability is really harsh on PC. How is this being addressed?
Yeah, sorry about that, Slash to Rusty. That's it's disturbing for us as well. And I can sincerely say we have a team of folks who aren't getting a whole lot of sleep right now, that every day and every night we have a dedicated QA team, engineering team, who are saying more information from anybody who's having these problems, help our own guys digging around saying, what is it? Why is this so elusive and difficult for us to find? Whatever it is, from a configuration or from something that we just can't quite pinpoint. It's not one silver bullet answer. It's not like there's one problem, why can't you just fix it? There's literally this kind of death by 1,000 cuts that we're experiencing. And so as we find a few areas that need patching, we patch those. We roll out many patches that have fixes and actually have improved in certain areas. And then we run into, oh my gosh, how did we miss this, or what is this, or what's causing that? To the point we've actually engaged with our friends at the first-party groups as well as any of the hardware vendors and said, no, really, we need more help on this, because there's just something or some things that we can't quite find and that we just need to trap inside of our debuggers so we can then fix them. So I guarantee you the team is committed and dedicated to every day knowing about it. We have metrics that do backtracing to say, hey, this crash happened and here's and that immediately goes to that team. So we have a strike team doing nothing but saying, we need to fix this and fix this fast. So we're working on it.
Yep. And last question from Stillman
just before we kind of move forward here, the biggest issue with PC is always going to be the numerous configurations across the board, right? PC unfortunately is like not one size fits all in terms of the fixes and the optimization. So if you're a PC bro and you're just experiencing some issues, man, sit tight. I know you could brute force it by just throwing more powerful hardware at it. But I would say just kind of sit tight and let's see what kind of fixes that come. It's one of the biggest downsides with PC gaming sometimes is the numerous configurations between person to person, and because of that, the amount of bugs or fixes or optimizations that like a game has to go through, right? It's just one of those things. So let's hopefully they nail it down so PC bros can enjoy the game.
Will we be seeing some bigger variation in level design in future content, and perhaps retroactively in existing war zones?
Oh,
that's a great question. Certainly, we've heard
that's a great question.
Clearly from the players asking for more levels, for new places to go. In the near term, with Kate Bishop's operation, you'll see some first steps. I would call them baby steps of, hey, adding variation for sure, adding some new combat spaces, adding a new boss arena that you get to play in. So there's tons of things that we're doing there to say, let's take and do that well part of the story, introducing Kate. But it's only the first steps. And from a team's perspective, we actually have a strike team looking at saying, hey, how far can we push our technology of how we build the war zones, how they're actually assembled, how we can actually rearrange them and give both new spaces, new places to fight, new things to find. So we're definitely pushing that quickly. It does take time. And it's one of those things that it is definitely on our list. We are working on it as quickly as we can because we know people need new places and new things to go fight. We definitely hear you. And I would say the future expansions, those are actually going to come with new biomes, with whole new areas, new geography, new looks, new shapes, new sounds.
Ooh.
So we can't wait to get down that path where we can actually get to the much larger biomes. Like, wow.
I think I didn't mean to cut him off here, but I think one of the things, if you kind of read between the lines of like the war zones and the interiors all being very similar, is it's almost like a time saving measure, right? If everything's very similar, then you're not spending a lot of time building unique levels or unique designs or everything like that. So hopefully now that the game's out and we have some expansions that are going to be coming in the next 6, 12, 18 months, we start to see kind of more unique areas. The one part of the question I really liked, I don't think he answered it, was the retroactive part. Like, can you go back and change some of these war zones so there's a little bit of variation to them? Hopefully he answers that, but that was the part of the question I really liked, and that's something now that's brought up, I would like to see that happen too.
This is really different. So it is in progress. Absolutely. It is in the works. We know everybody wants it. So as soon as we can get it to you, we absolutely will.
So no.
Awesome.
As no as in no answer to the retroactive part.
So that's all the time we have for questions right now.
Wow, really? That went fast. Holy smokes.
I know. But
Scott, don't do that.
Scott, is there anything else you want to mention or say or anything?
Well, it is, yeah. So looking at the date, don't forget to log in to claim your thank you bundle for all of our players, right? It's available right now through November 5th, if I remember correctly, Andy. So it is definitely worth your time because there's all kinds of good stuff in there for you guys. Certainly things to help from boosting your gear to getting some stuff in the marketplace. So by all means, thank you for being on this journey with us. Thank you for coming along the ride. And right now is a great time to get in there and get some really great stuff and some free stuff that'll help you continue that journey. And I'd also secondly say, stay safe out there. Like, it's one of those things that as a studio, as a development team, we've never had to do this, launching a game from home, working from home, and continuing to work from home. And just like you guys, I'm sure having to be, inside and playing, awesome, great for us because we want you to play the game. At the same time, it's a different world right now. And so we would say stay safe. We are committed to making this great. We are dedicated to saying whatever it takes as developers and as fans to both fix anything that's currently wrong, as well as adding and growing this experience and adding on to these stories. We just can't wait for you guys to see what's yet to come.
All right.
Thank you, Scott.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Keep the questions coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy, and the community team for always being that great facilitator and filter for us, because there's so much that we can learn from this because we're fans and we make this for you guys as the fans. So keep the feedback coming.
Yeah, and we'll have more of these in the future, so keep an eye on them. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Whoops. All right. So all in all, guys, when we look back at the Q&A, one of the things that as I called it, we weren't going to get kind of the hard hitting, let's really try and nail down, of course they work together, so you're never going to get something like that, right? But I think we kind of expected, at least I expected, kind of the questions and the answers. Obviously, there were some hard ones there. Obviously, the retroactive part of the missions, and it's more so like a Q&A like this is more so a platform of kind of saying like, hey guys, we've messed up. I'm super sorry, but here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing moving forward, and this is why you should kind of join us on this journey if you're not already on the journey with us, right? My biggest takeaway, obviously, is going to be the Kate Bishop calendar year comment. That is not good at all. That is super not good. Anything to do with that is just not good. It's tough. We are in the second last week of October, and we don't have a firm date for Kate. So that is super worrying right now. And hopefully that kind of gets fixed, and hopefully we get a date soon. So we get what we get. You know what I mean, guys? We get what we get. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to end it here. Thank you guys so much for joining me on the kind of reaction, kind of going through this. I will see you guys on the next video. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It is Friday night, so enjoy, stay safe, and I will see you guys next time. All right, so take care, peace out, see you next time, later.